happy Monday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. Hooray! So welcome aboard. Tonight is Monday, July 15th. This is episode 333 of The Daily Dope. So if this is your first time popping in, let me point out this is a very, very casual show. It is a live stream. Normally I'll share some tabletop gaming news, maybe do an unboxing for a game, review a game, maybe page through and review an RPG source book or core book, what have you. So tonight I am actually not going to be sharing, any tabletop gaming news, simply because I'm a little pressed for time, because we are leaving tomorrow to go to San Diego so we can cover San Diego Comic-Con. Yes, so that will be crazy. That will be hectic. And the game I'm actually reviewing tonight is going to take some time for us to discuss, because I am going to show you a little bit of how to play and review Robotech Attack on the SDF-1 from Strange Machine Games and Japanime Games. So that is coming up in just a few minutes. Now, as I point out, because this is a live stream on YouTube, chat is available. And Dan from No Enemies here is already saying howdy in chat. So I do want to point out, chat is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of these stranger commenters at bay. But I do pay attention to chat. So if you'd like to say hello, or maybe you've got a question, or maybe there's something about Robotech Attack on the SDF-1 that you want to ask or get a better look at, by all means, please chime in. I will respond. So, of course, if you like the video, please give it a quick thumbs up. If you check out some of the videos on the Gaming Gang channel and you like those, by all means, please subscribe. If you do subscribe, ring that little bell, because it will not only notify you when a new video is uploaded to the channel, it'll also inform you when the show goes live, which I was a few minutes getting started today because our internet went down. Yeah, I was like, great. I think that's like the third time in, was it the year and a half? A little more than a year and a half I've been doing this. I think it was the third time that we lost internet for a little bit right before the show was supposed to go on. I was like, oh, come on. It's like, jeez. All right, so anyway, if you do like the channel, be sure to tell a friend. In fact, tell 2 friends, because I've got a contest going on right now. This contest is going to run through August 5th, and you can win yourself a copy of the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game core set. This is the new edition. This is the recent edition that came out. But wait, that's not all. I also am including the first adventure path for the game. Yes, Curse of the Crimson Throne. That is also included. Plus, I even have some promo cards for you. Anyway, the contest is pretty easy. I'm just looking to hit 1,600 subscribers on YouTube, which I am 75 subscribers away from right this moment. Once that happens, on August 6th, that means I will give out 1 copy of this prize pack. If I hit 1,800 subscribers by August 5th, I'll do 2 prize packs. And if I hit 2,000 subscribers, I will send out 3 prize packs. Yes, 3. Pretty easy to actually get in the running. All you have to do is A, be a subscriber to the Gaming Gang channel here on YouTube, and B, make a comment on one of the videos. Pretty simple. Make a comment between now and August 5th, be a subscriber, and if I hit those subscriber numbers, you are in the running. Do have to point out, though, this contest is only open to folks who live in the United States or Canada. because I'm on the hook for shipping to send these out. So unless somehow I pull somebody's name and they're, in Europe and they say, yeah, Jeff, I'll pay for the shipping, buddy, then by all means, I will definitely send it along. But otherwise, it's only for US and Canada. Okay, so do want to point out before I jump into my how to play and review, if you are familiar with the gaminggang.com or the Daily Dope, or of course, if you watch videos on the channel here on YouTube, you already know that this is pretty much a not-for-profit endeavor. So if you do like the gaminggang.com, the channel, or the Daily Dope, by all means, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. That's right, Lil Bub's Big Fund does provide grant monies to organizations around the United States who care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. Yes, these animals might require medication every day, or they might be older, or blind, or deaf, or have mobility issues. But these pets still deserve good, loving homes, and that's what Lil Bub's Big Fund is all about. So please consider tossing a couple of bucks their way and help out some animals in need. Of course, if you do that, please shoot me an email. My email address is right there in the corner. It is jeffmcaleer@thegaminggang.com. And if you would like, I will be sure to give you a shout out on a following show. All right, so I'm sure some folks are going to be tuning in because they want to check out Robotech Attack on the SDF-1 from Japanime Games and Strange Machine Games. That is designed by Darius Hambleton and Jeff Meklinski. Taking a guess on those pronunciations. With the artwork provided by Francisco Etcart. The game is for 1 to 5 players, ages 12 and up. I think the age is a little low. It does play in around 2 to 3 hours and carries an MSRP of $79.99. Will point out, I have seen this for about $58 or so from some online retailers. So if that is important, I know people get upset I mention online retailers. I'm not telling you you can't go to your friendly local gaming store. I'm just saying if saving $21 is a big deal to you, then you might want to look to check online. All right, so we're going to move over to the other camera here. So I've got a bunch of stuff set up. I'll be the first to point out that Robotech Attack on the SDF-1, which I am just going to simply refer to as Robotech from here on out, takes up a lot of space on your table. So I've squeezed in as much as I can here, but this is not how you would have the game laid out. This is just to kind of give you an idea of some of the components. I am going to zoom in and show off a bunch of different stuff because we've got different character cards, we've got different tokens of the Veritex and the Battloids and the Zentradi pods, their attack pods. We've got extra characters. I mean, this game is loaded with stuff. It really is loaded down with a lot of things. It even has, and we will take a closer look, a stand-up SDF-1 when it transforms. So that is pretty wild. You have to build this. You have to put it together. I will have some comments about this as well as we move through the how to play and review. So first off, what I'm going to point out is we've got a rule book. Rule book is all right. It is. I wish it was a lot more intuitive than it is. Granted, we've got a lot of images. We've got some examples. The game there's a lot going on in this game, and the way the rules are presented isn't terrible, but it's not phenomenal either. But as you can see, there are quite a lot of pages to the rules. We've got this big index, and it's just all this different stuff. You know, it's like abilities and bridge bunnies, and it's like all these different terms are all in this index here. So, like I said, I like the images. I love the fact where it's like, okay, so if you're not familiar with Robotech, here's a visual guide of what these things are, right? So we've got the Destroid, we got the Monster, those are the Battloids. We got the Veritech, we got the Super Veritechs. We got the Zentradi cruisers and flagships. So I thought that was kind of cool how it gave you that, because if you are not well versed in all things Robotech or Macross, then you might be sitting there going, so what's the difference between a Super Veritech and just a Veritech? I don't get it. I don't understand. So, got the rules there. Like I said, it took a while for me to really figure out how to play this game. I'll be the first to admit that. And I'll point out that there's little scenario books. We'll take a look at those in a bit. There's a training scenario booklet that really isn't a training scenario. It just kind of walks you through what each of these characters can do. So, one thing I will point out, component-wise, everything's really nicely done. The cards are little small cards. They're small European-style cards. But the card stock is fine. It's nice. It's not real thin. Of course, if you were going to play this a lot, you would definitely want to be sure that you did sleeve your cards. Standees are kind of cool. They don't stay in their bases real well, but they're not too bad. So you might want to take a little white glue and drop a little white glue into these standees, because you're just going to want to put these together and leave them together, because taking them apart, putting them apart is going to eventually just wear these down. Same thing with the SDF-1. You're going to want to put this together and then find someplace on a shelf to store it when you're not playing, because you are not going to tear this apart every single time you're going to play this game. It's just not going to happen. So I do want to point that out. As far as the counters, the tokens, they're all nice, thick cardboard, so that works. Artwork is really nice. The artwork is actually new artwork for the most part. It all is, of course, inspired by the classic anime, but really nicely done. I really like the component quality. The boards are nicely done. We've got our danger board here for the SDF-1. It's all really, really nicely put together. So let's kind of zoom in a little bit. I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to move these out of the way. I'm going to flip this on over. Whoops. There's a lot of tokens and all these other things that are part of this, so I'm going to zoom in and use this kind of as our backdrop here. And okay, so let's start off with the characters, because if you're familiar with Robotech, or in some respects Macross, you know that it is a very character-driven anime. Yes, of course, it's got all the mecha and everything else, but it's all really what made it a popular show is the relationships that the characters have. So one of the cool things about Robotech, the board game here, is that you'll have different important main characters from the series that you can play. And they all have different abilities of what they're able to do. So this is Captain Henry Global. So it tells you what their health is to start, how do they move, what kind of resource will they provide you, where do they start the scenarios in. And the scenarios are kind of called like episodes. So you'll have different scenario books, which we will take a look at. And those scenario books actually break down into episodes, which I thought was kind of cool. I thought that was pretty cool. So it'll give you a little bit of backstory about the captain, talks about his special abilities, and then it's going to talk about what kind of actions can Captain Global take. And it'll walk you through all that. It'll tell you what your action marker pool is. Say it's 2 plus the science crew. Giving you another example, here's Lisa Hayes, another major character in Robotech and Macross. So Solera X1 is popping in. Good to see you, X1. So we've got Lisa Hayes as another character. Once again, talking about her special abilities plus her actions. Claudia Grant, same thing. Her abilities, her special actions, and they're all a bit different. So, for an example, Claudia has higher health than Lisa, who has higher health than the captain. So this is kind of your bridge crew. These are the crew members who never actually leave the ship. But then you've got your other main characters. So these are your fighter pilots. So Rick Hunter, who's the main character in Robotech. We also have Roy Fokker, who is the wing leader of, and he flies Skull One. So his abilities have more to do with actually controlling other mecha that's out on the board. And then we've got Max Sterling. Max Sterling is also another major character, although he kind of pops up a little later in the series. So one of the things that I really do like about the game is that each of these characters are quite different. Some of them share the same sort of abilities, others do not. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. So I did dig that. So then we've got the various different tokens for our mecha. Here, I keep trying to move this over so it's all black. There we go. So we've got scouts. We have Veritex. We have Super Veritex. We've got Destroids and Monsters. So these are the Robotech units that we have available. I'll zoom in a little bit more so we can get a better look at the artwork on these. So pretty cool. I appreciate the fact that we've got a variety of different kinds of mecha for us to utilize. So the main premise of the game is, just like in the series itself, you are trying to fight off these waves of Zentradi attackers. And I am not going to go into the whole Robotech story, seeing that the series is only, I don't know, when did it come out? Like 84 or something like that? I know I was in high school because some of my friends and I used to watch it. Anyway, so you're basically trying to fight off all the various different commanders for the Zentradi, because they go through a few different ones. That is for sure, because the Zentradi are after the precious proto-culture that is actually not in Macross. It was invented for the Robotech series. So to kind of give you an idea of some of the units that we've got as far as the Zentradi. So we've got some Zentradi heroes. These are two major characters from the Zentradi side. These are the attack pods. We also have cruisers and flagships. Oops. So we've got the, no, that was right. It's this way. So, just like so. So these are the attacking units. Now we have a Zentradi bag that we're going to actually put all of our Zentradi counters in. So we've got those. I'll show you off the little standees for the characters. Once again, I dig the artwork on those as well. So give you an example. That's Max Sterling. Got Lisa Hayes. Got Captain Gloval. Rick Hunter. Roy Fokker. And Claudia Grant. So those are the 6 main characters in the game. Now, depending on the scenario you're playing, you may not have all 6. You may only utilize 4 of them. One of the cool things is actually show the bridge crew has like the Robotech, what is it, UN Spacey symbol on them, and the fighter pilots have their respective Veritex. So I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that was pretty cool. So we've got those. So we've got a variety of different decks of cards as well. So we have the invasion deck. And the invasion deck is basically cards that you're going to draw that are going to bring more Zentradi onto the board. So this is where these waves of attackers come from. So you would flip it over, and right away we got an X card. So let's go to a different one. So depending on the scenario, it's going to tell you how many of these cards you're going to take. And you'll have X cards. X cards are kind of like story arc cards. So it'll tell you how many of the X cards to randomly insert into this deck. So, give you an example here. We've got fold operations. All pods from this card are placed in inner areas. And it says Zentradi vessels. +4 pods to the A2 inner. And +4 pods to A3 inner. So, our map, when I zoom back out, you'll see that the quadrants are all broken out. A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6. And then it'll show you the different bands, different ranges. So you're going to be drawing these cards. So that's the invasion deck. We've got the orders deck, which is going to tell you what did the Zentradi do. So you're going to use that. So it'll tell you, okay, this is what the pods do. This is what the cruisers do. This is what the flagships do. And you're like, what? What does that mean? Thankfully, there are quick reference sheets. Well, not sheets. These are boards. And they'll tell you exactly, okay, this is exactly what happens. Okay, all right, so that's advance, move towards the SDF-1. That's saying, okay, so pods that have this symbol, because the pods are going to have different symbols on them, just like so. I'm going to say, okay, so that would be advance 1, and then it's going to say slide, move left or right into an adjacent space. So it's actually doing 2, and then target. It'll attack and inflict 1 damage to Mecha or the SDF-1. So it's going to tell you that's what the pods that have this marking on the board are going to do. The cruisers also have their own marking, and then the flagships are all the same. There aren't a ton of flagships. So, yeah, and if you got a bunch of flagships on the board attacking you, you're in pretty bad shape anyway. So this tells you the symbols on the Zentradi orders. Then there are a lot of different tokens. I'm not going to show you all the different tokens and scatter them all over the place, but you've got all these various different tokens here. Kind of show you a handful of them. And once again, these are, nice quality. I punched them out. I didn't have any problem with them tearing apart or anything like that, which sometimes happens when you're popping counters out of the punch boards. That did not happen at all. Talking about the quick reference, I'll flip this over. We also have a sequence of play. It'll walk you through the entire sequence of play with the game itself. So we've got dice. The dice really are not utilized to resolve actions and things like that. A lot of times you're rolling the dice to find out where something is going. That's usually what the dice are utilized for. Sometimes a card will tell you to roll a die and something will happen. So you've got that as well. We also have resources. Now, resources are good things. Resources are good things for us, but we have to earn these resource cards. So we have to purchase our resource cards. So, for an example, Destroyed Defense. Add 2 Destroids to any SDF-1 area, or use this card to cancel the effects of the Macross City Overrun Zentradi Invasion card. So we've got a variety of different cards, and these will normally help us. Some of them are kind of unbalanced too. Some of these cards can really I don't want to necessarily say, throw the game out of whack. All right, Dan's got to take off. Good to see you again, Dan. I will be back a week from tomorrow. So hopefully you'll join me for that show. But yeah, some of these cards are a little overpowered, I think, and can kind of really throw everything, you know, towards humanity's side in one of these missions, in these scenarios. Then we've got incidents. Incidents are usually something bad. Not always, but usually. So, gun overload, confused aliens. Well, that actually helps us. So, supplies running low, overheated engines. So, kind of give you an idea. And sometimes we have to draw one of these incident cards. Then we have our mecha order cards. So, if you're, you know, not the actual characters, we have other mecha. We actually draw order cards for them as well. So, to kind of give you an idea, this would tell us, okay, our Veritex can move one area and they don't get an attack. The Deserites can move one area. They also have 0 attack. Scouts can inflict 2 damage to an area. Pods cannot advance or slide into that area. So we've got different orders that we have to utilize. Now, some of these cards, for an example like this, right? So it'll say Veritex, it's that or this, right? So they could move 1 and attack and do 1 damage, or they could move 3 and do no damage. If you have Super Veritex, you actually combine the 2 of these together. So that gives you the option of you could move 4 and still attack for 1 point damage. So as far as the damage goes, you'll see, so for an example here, we've got the cruiser. The cruiser has 4 hits. So it can take 4 hits worth of damage. Now, some of the mecha cannot actually damage capital ships. But I'll give you another example. So we've got like the attack pod. The attack pod's got the one little kind of like bang kind of star here. That means it's got basically a point of damage, but you have to do more than what it's got. So for an example, if you've hit it, you can damage it, but you have not annihilated it. You have not destroyed it. They like to use the word annihilate in this. All right, so that kind of gives you an idea of those. Let's take a look. I will show you the danger board. Oh, no, actually, before I do that, because then I don't have to zoom out, I'll show you some of the character cards. So, depending on what's going on in the adventure, in that scenario, you might have other characters pop up from the show. So, we've got Miria, we got Chiron, we got Ben Dixon, who's another fighter pilot. Yes, we've got Min-Mei. I know some people really can't stand Min-Mei. It's like, I gotta be honest, when I would watch Robotech, which I watched quite a few times over the years, I would fast forward through her songs. That is true. Rick Hunter can kind of level up. And if you follow the show, you know that you can actually have Miria and Max as a couple. And if that happens, then you'll actually be changing the Max counter that you have, and Max becomes different. He's promoted. These are promoted actions. So these are off to the side. These are not necessarily utilized in every scenario, every episode. So let me zoom back out a little bit. We should be good like so. So I'm going to show you the danger board. Kind of give you an idea of the danger board here. Zoom in a little more. There we go. So this is another board that you're going to have out and you're going to be utilizing. And depending on what characters you've got in the game, you're going to take their tokens and place them over here. So here we've got the population of Macross cities. So if you've watched the show, you know on board the SDF-1 is actually the city from Macross Island. So there's all these civilians on board. So one of the aspects of the game is you're trying to protect all the civilians. Then you've got your command crew. So this isn't just this is everybody who's part of your bridge crew. Like I forget the girls' names on the bridge, but that's an example there. Science crew, production crew, launch bay crew. You've got reactors. We've got beam weapons throughout the ship. We've got the reflex cannon. Once again, if you've watched the show, you know all about what the reflex cannon does. And you have to be careful with the reflex cannon as far as using it. Things can happen that will actually damage the SDF-1 itself or prevent the cannon from firing at all. There's actually even the pinpoint defense that's from the show as well. So these are like hits you can mark. For an example, let's say you mark hits with this, and you'll use tokens like this to mark off damage, like so. And got a bunch of these. We also have these tokens here, and those indicate the actions. So what you end up doing, let's say we've got 4 characters here. You're going to actually place your characters on the hero actions section here. That's going to tell you how many actions is that hero going to get, and you're going to track those with these counters here. So we'd use this with your hero board. So depending on what's going on, you're going to determine what character do you want to have the most actions. So for example, if you've got a lot of pods that are inbound to attack the SDF-1, you might want to give more actions to Roy Fokker, or maybe Max Sterling, or possibly Rick Hunter. If you're taking damage on the SDF-1, or maybe you need to use some of the beam cannons, then you might look to give the actions to the bridge crew, the command crew. So what you would do is, let's say as an example here, let's say we just got Captain Global. You would just mark your action markers, and then it tells you for one action marker, these are the things you can do. Fire 1 railgun, gain 1 evade token, cool 1 reflex heat, heal 1 hero damage, order a Veritech, order 2 Destroids. 2 action tokens gains 3 research tokens. 3 action markers, he can fire the reflex cannon. Now, keeping in mind, the reflex cannon can only be fired after the SDF-1 has transformed. So some of the early scenarios, episodes, you can't transform. So this is kind of the danger board. So of course you're looking to try to protect the SDF-1 from taking too much damage, from too much population being killed. You'll have objectives marked as well in your scenario booklet, which we might as well take a look at the scenario booklet right now. There are a few of them. So I'm trying to make sure that stands up. So we have Scenario 0, which is training. We got Scenario 1, Far From Home, which is the beginning of the series. Blue Skies. Hero's Sorrow. And then Special Forces. These are like special missions. So interestingly enough, if we open these up, it'll tell you, okay, so we've got Scenario 01, Overview, Far From Home. And it's going to tell you how to set up how you set it up, what is the situation, what's going on, what are your objectives. So even though the first couple episodes, first like 2-3 episodes of Robotech actually take place on Earth, when the Zentradi attack, you can play it using, the outer space board here. So it's going to tell us, okay, here's the situation. What are our objectives? Defend the city center. We've got some attack pods that are coming in that are going to go after the city center. Defend the SDF-1. We'll say draw ones and try the invasion card. So then we got episode 2, transformation. Episode 3, space battle. So this is when they're out by Mars, if I remember correct. Oh, there we go. Mars outpost. Blitzkrieg, Mars outpost. So you've got 5 scenarios in this first booklet. Now remember I told you the training booklet really isn't much of a training booklet. I'll show you why. So what it really just does is it just tells you, okay, so for an example here, Claudia Grant. It just kind of goes, okay, this is the setup, and it just talks about, it's really basically just walking you through what can this character do. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just telling you it's presented as if this is like a scenario that you're going to play, and that is not the case. So we have like Lisa Hayes, we've got Captain Global, we've got Max, Rick, and Roy, ordering Mecha, ordering Zentrades, and that is pretty much the tutorial. Of course, you're gonna read through it. It helps you out. It clears up some stuff from the rulebook as well, but you're led to believe, oh wow, hey, cool. Look at all these scenario books. There's all these different missions. Well, this first book really doesn't have any missions. Okay, so then we've got like these bigger, like remember I was saying we've got objectives. These objectives are usually, this is what the Zentradi are trying to do, right? So here's their objective is the city center. So we'd actually put that out into a sector and then put the pods that you've pulled from the bag onto this. So these would be the 4 pods that are trying to attack the city center. So, which actually does happen in the series. The Zentrades try to attack Macross City because they know it's a weak point for the SDF-1 group. All right, so we'll take a look at the SDF-1 itself, because the SDF-1 is broken up into different segments. So we'll see here, this is the launch bay, production, forward reactor, science, Macross City, as I mentioned before. We were just looking at that objective token for Macross City, aft reactor. So what you're going to have is, you might have pilots that are out on the board here. You have, see, as I mentioned, the standees, the stands don't really stick on too well. Kind of give you an idea of like their starting locations here. So, yep, Rick is usually in Macross City, Lisa Hayes is on the bridge, and Captain Global is on the bridge. So we got a bridge section like right here, right where these two are. So we'll see, like for an example, launch bay. Well, that's where you would have the hangar for your different mecha, like so. We've got a lab, right? We got the reflex furnace, construction, the hospital, training center. So you've got these different areas. So when you're performing these actions, you're actually moving the characters around. So for an example, if Claudia is working in production, you can kind of just move her token, her standee out there, so you know, okay, that's what she's doing. That's what's going on. Once again, definitely like the artwork. I think this is really nicely done. It's kind of funny how you'll notice that these lines kind of line up with the various different quarters here. So I will zoom back out a little bit. Okay. So you'll notice we also have these bands. So we see that here, this band here, that is beam cannon range. So these represent, these represent beam cannons. Just like so. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's right. These are beam cannons. These are railguns. Those are railguns. So it'll show you railgun arc, right? So these are the railguns on the Macross. And we've got it like so. So you're basically rotating. You're rotating around too. So I thought that's kind of cool as well. So anyway, so you've got these different bands. Now you might have to roll dice and be like, okay, well, 4 pods are gonna attack from place them in the inner circle. Like this is the inner circle, this is the outer circle. So 2, right? So it'd be A2. We would reach into our bag and we would pull out what we need to pull out. And we'd be like, okay, there we go. Oh, actually, I should actually put them in the bag. But so for an example, if it said put 2, you put the 2 out here. So you might have, I'll just set some stuff up a little bit. Yep, there he goes, falling out of his stand again. Yeah, why not? We'll put a flagship out here. Toss that out here. Let's do a cruiser over here. Just kind of throwing stuff around. This is not necessarily how the game is set up. Just like here I've got these research tokens. They don't all really stack up over here. You actually earn, as you're earning them, you're going to place them here. So then when you spend them, you take them from here. So let's throw some Veritechs out here. Might as well throw like so. Okay, so you can have these different mecha in the various different areas. So for an example, if you were looking to, when it's our turn to attack, you would draw your orders here. Now, keeping in mind, I'll just lay Max down like so. Max is considered in his Veritech. He's out there in space. He's in his Veritech. Right here where we've got Roy Foker and we've got Rick Hunter, they're actually considered to be on the ship. Now, they can always launch out from the hangar, and they're, when they leave and they're out there, they're considered to be in their Veritechs. So what you would end up doing is you've got the Zentradi using their order cards to attack and destroy mecha, and to hopefully for them score damage on the SDF-1, whereas the players are attempting to destroy the Zentradi waves while they protect the ship as well as repair damage, keeping in mind that all of the characters all have special abilities available to them. So effectively, Roy tries to focus on the mecha and moving the mecha around to attack. Rick Hunter, early on, he's mainly a fighter pilot, just like Max is. If Max gets Miria, then Max becomes a much more powerful attacker as far as going after the Zentradi. Claudia is more focused towards production, so Claudia can help you build your Veritechs and your Battloids. Also, you can trade in 2 Veritechs to upgrade to a Super Veritech. Same thing with the Destroids. You can actually cash in, and you have to pay, but you cash in 2 Destroids to get a monster. The monsters are actually awesome because they have a range that reaches all the way out to the outer band, and they can damage capital ships. Effectively, everything just does 1 point of damage. Everything does 1 point of damage except for the reflex cannon, and the reflex cannon basically destroys anything in its path. Anything in its path gets wiped out. So you're going to continue on through the game facing your invasion cards, and hopefully you are able to bring the SDF-1 out of it. As I mentioned before, we've got the scenarios all have different objectives as well. So the booby trap is defend the city center. It says pods invade the city and target civilians. Defend the civilians and give them time to reach the shelters. Place the city center objective token with 4 pods on it in a random outer area. So for an example, right, I rolled that die before and I said, oh yeah, I would go out here. So those pods would not actually move off of that objective. because their objective isn't to fight any of the mecha. They're not looking to try to damage the SDF. They're trying to get into Macross City and create havoc. So if all the pods are destroyed at the end of the episode, gain 1 ability point, 1 research token. It says defend the SDF-1. During the attack, the SDF-1 becomes overwhelmed by battle pods. Orders come in to support the fortress. If there are no pods in inner or SDF areas at the end of the episode, gain 1 ability point and 1 research token. There is a bit of a campaign game to these as well. So all the scenarios in this, or all the episodes, I guess we'll say, in this, are all kind of a campaign. Same with the other scenario books as well. I do want to point out the rules aren't as clear as they could be as far as like playing campaign style games. So, oh, hey, Flaming Huron's popping in saying howdy. Just doing some work around the house. Cool deal. Yeah, no news tonight because I haven't even started getting ready for flying to San Diego Comic-Con yet, and I got to get that done. Oh, look, there you go. Roy fell out of his thing again. Okay, so you have all these various different scenarios. They're not all alike. They're not all exactly the same, but they do all share similar approaches to them. A lot of times with the objectives, things like that. What Strange Machine Games and Japanime Games is doing is they're trying to really bring the flavor of the Robotech episodes to the game itself, and by reflecting that in the different objectives. So I thought it was very cool. I do appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that it's not just, okay, we're defending the SDF-1, and we have to repair damage, and we have to protect the population, and we have to fight the battle pods and the flagships and the cruisers of the Zentradi, and oh hey, you know what? We'll throw Chiron in here as well. But you're playing the same exact thing every single time you sit down to play this game. That does not happen. The different scenarios provide different wrinkles to each of the games that you play. And I like that. I thought that was very cool. So I do want to point out once again how important it is for me to make clear that this is not necessarily the clearest rule book in the world to understand how to play the game. So, and like there's all these little different things, and I'll kind of give you an idea just looking at the sequence of play. That is a lot of stuff to be doing basically in your turn. So I played this with Cameron. I played it solo to kind of get an idea of how the game played, and then I played it with Cameron. Now you can play this for 1 to 5 players. I will basically tell you, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, the more players you bring to the table in this, the more this game is going to drag. And that's not going to be good. That is not going to be good at all. The fewer players, the better. The more players that you have who are familiar with Robotech is probably going to help as well. So that's kind of I wasn't going to go into a big how to play because I don't want to spend like an hour and a half showing you how to play. I think it's more important for me to kind of show you the components, give you an idea of like an overview of what you're doing in this game. Nobody plays as Zentradi, so that's cool. I mean, it's a cooperative game, so the AI controls the Zentradi, and it does a pretty good job. The game can be challenging depending on what cards you might end up getting as far as your resources as well. So anyway, so I kind of shared this with you. What are my overall thoughts and my review score for Robotech Attack on the SDF-1? Let me grab a quick sip here. I've been just yapping. I'm a big Robotech fan. Always have been. I've even watched Macross. And I watched Macross back in the day when you could not get your hands on Macross. So, I will point out that I am a much, much bigger fan of the first arc of Robotech, the Macross saga, as opposed to Southern Cross and Mesopotamia, or however it's pronounced. Because if you didn't know this, Robotech is actually 3 separate anime series that were combined, and that's where they created proto culture to have that like as a plot line that runs through all 3. There's no proto culture in Macross. I'm just saying. But so I've been a big fan of Robotech for a long, long time. In fact, I remember when I was in high school and it first started airing, my friends and I were catching some of the episodes after school, and we were like, whoa, holy cow, like people are getting killed in this cartoon. Because of course we didn't watch Japanese anime. Japanese anime wasn't a thing really here in the US. So we were like, whoa, man, this is awesome. So I introduced Robotech to my nephew Cameron within the last year, and he watched all of it, and he really loved it too. So he and I both really enjoy the game. The game does have some problems. It is a bit wonky in places as far as when you're playing. So for an example, this is one of the reasons why I say I don't really foresee bringing more players to the table to play this, because if you have, let's say you've got 4 players, each are controlling a character. Well, remember, I showed you, I was going to grab the battle board, but there's all this stuff sitting on it. I showed you the danger board, and the danger board shows where you've got the characters, and you take a little character token and you put them on, okay, this is how many actions you're going to get. It's very easy for it to become a game where one of the characters just doesn't need to be involved in a lot of stuff. Maybe just the way the whole episode is playing out, their particular skill set is not needed to be utilized. Well, then they're going to sit there like, oh, this is great. This is all exciting. And they'll probably be pretty bored. Whereas if you have a couple of players and maybe you're even just not even taking over characters, just discussing, hey, how should we approach this? What should we do here? I think that's a much, much better fit. Personally, I think it works really well as a solitaire game, period. Honestly, I don't know, and people might beat me up for saying this, I think this is a better game just strictly solitaire than with, 2 players is fine. Like I said, Cameron and I enjoyed playing it. I don't know, I don't see 5 people playing this knowing that characters are going to have really nothing to do each and every turn of the game, depending how things play out, and people will start tuning out. Another thing, game's pretty long, depending on which episode you're playing. Game can run 2-3 hours, especially when you're first learning how to play it. You're going to invest a good deal of time. Also, if you decide you are going to play this with a bunch of people, you damn well better sit down and play this solitaire a few times, because this is not a game that you're going to just sit there and in 10 minutes explain how to play it and be like, okay, let's do it. Let's go. All right, ready? It's just not going to happen. So I don't want to come across as being overly negative. I mean, like I said, there are some problems to the design. I also wanted to mention the SDF-1. I thought this is kind of cool. One thing I do want to point out is when you're building it, you need to be very, very careful, because some of these slots weren't cut wide enough, so you're trying to force things in, and if you're not careful, you're gonna bend this cardstock. And this is the kind of cardstock that if you bend it, if you like kind of snap it, it's almost like the tree in Everdell. Same thing. It's like I built this just like I built the tree in Everdell, and I will not take this apart, because I know damn well, same thing with the tree in Everdell, if I sit there taking it apart, putting it back together all the time, it is going to get trashed mighty quick. But it also has that cardboard where if you like snap it, then it's broke. It's not where it's like, oh, I can bend it back a little bit. This would be like broken and hang down, and it's very easy to tear that kind of cardstock. Once it's been broken like that, very, very careful. So like I said, you got to put it together and then leave it alone. And as you put it together, you got to be very, very careful. Don't try to force things. You might want to use a hobby knife. I used my hobby knife to kind of scrape some of the little slots that they needed to slot together because they weren't wide enough. They weren't cut wide enough, and I could tell. If you looked really closely at this, you can see there's some places where the cardboard's a little bent from having to force it and stuff. But it's still pretty cool. Cameron thought it was like, wow, that is awesome. And it is pretty wild to bust this out when you're playing and all of a sudden you've transformed and you plop this down on the table. So it's pretty sweet. So I like that. I like the thematics. To me, even with some of the issues that the game has, and they're not major, and the rule book has, to me, this captures Robotech better than any other Robotech game I have played, bar none. Now, I have not played a ton of Robotech games, but if you follow the gaming gang, if you watch the Daily Dope, you know there are some Robotech games that I have reviewed. This one is my favorite because it really, really does feel like Robotech. Strangely enough, though, game-wise, one of the other Robotech games actually will get a higher review score, just simply because it's ease of play and jump right into and things like that. But for myself personally, as a Robotech fan, I enjoy this game way, way more. So my final thoughts are, well, I'll give you a score and I'll explain why. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I give Robotech Attack on the SDF-1 a 7.9. So it's real close to an 8, right? The rulebook presentation did get dinged. The way the SDF-1 is put together, it got dinged a little bit. The fact that the training booklet really isn't a training booklet got it a little bit of a ding. But if you're a huge Robotech fan, I would certainly say give it another point, right? You may really, really dig this. On the flip side of that, if you've never heard of Robotech, you have absolutely really no interest in watching Macross or Robotech, I don't know if you're going to get a kick out of this game or not. I really don't. One of the most enjoyable aspects of Robotech Attack on the SDF-1 is how little things from different episodes sneak into the game throughout the various different scenarios. I thought that's really cool. I like how that was done. But then again, if you don't care about Robotech, never watched it, I don't know. I don't think you're going to want to invest 2 to 3 hours playing this game. I just don't. But this game isn't necessarily marketed to you anyway. It's marketed to people who like Robotech. So if you are a Robotech fan, I think you'll like it just fine. As long as you understand it's going to play a bit long. Rules are kind of a head scratcher at some time. And if you're going to share it with friends, play the hell out of it solitaire, because you're not going to be able to teach them how to play if you don't do that. All right, so that is it for tonight's show. Normally, I'd be telling you, hey, what's coming up on the show for the rest of the week? I won't be here. I'll be in San Diego. So I highly doubt I'll have any videos up from San Diego. The Wi-Fi in hotels is always garbage. It's about trying to upload stuff. It's useless. So anyway, so I will be back a week from tomorrow, which is the 23rd? Yes, it is the 23rd. So I will be back July 23rd. I will have some more goodies. Of course, I'll be back for about a week and a half, and then it's off to Gen Con. Yeah, Gen Con. And don't forget, get in the running for the Pathfinder contest. It's easy. Subscribe and simply comment on one of the videos. But make it a nice comment. Don't if it's a nasty comment, I'm telling you right now, if your name comes up, I'm going to throw it back in. So why would I give out cool stuff to people who are mean to me? That doesn't make any sense. All right, so if you were watching live tonight, thank you very much. I know folks in chat were kind of tuning in, busy doing other things too. I know a lot of people actually watch this show after the fact and just listen to it. My friend Herman Lutman, my good buddy, game designer Herman Lutman, does that. He tends to listen to the show on his commutes. So, all right, and Flaming Huron, thank you very much. I will do my best to have a good time at San Diego Comic-Con and not get buried in the 180,000 people there. So, as I like to say, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, thank you for watching. If you were hanging out live and keeping me company in chat, and of course, everybody who's watching after the fact, I love you just as well. So, once again, I will not be back until the 23rd. So, until then, everybody take care. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.